Okay, so we'll start off with the reports. Reports today, 4:30 Aussie time. Oh, hang on. To update this one. Okay, Euro reports pretty good. German retail sales is up. Eurozone. It's a few medium reports for the Eurozone. There's one for a major one for the pound at 8:30, so 2.5 hours time. More on the pound, medium ones on euro, which will affect as well the Eurozone. And tomorrow, let's look at the reports. CAD, major one, GDP. Then there's two medium ones for US. 2 a.m. ISM, and Mr. Bernanke speaking as well. Okay, so that's the major reports there. Let's look at the DXY. Okay, the DXY on the daily. Yesterday buyers were in control. Today sellers are, it's a doji, so buyers are back in, but at the level of supply. So it's very good level of supply as well in the past. Right here, still bullish on an uptrend short term. Right here. Okay, my take today, there could be some more continuation to the upside since yesterday's candle is quite bullish if it breaks this supply level, but if not, then it may again consolidate between 2 points. So over the last couple of days, so it's created a new higher high here, which is quite weird with the Dow as well. So higher high right here, lower low between here, but then if you can see in the last few days, 1, 2, 3, 4 days, it's just consolidating between this demand and this supply. So it's back at this supply area, so it may correct itself down here, or it may break this supply and then continue. So the next supply areas will be these areas here, so 82, so above the 82, 82.12, and then a good one would be these areas right here, so 82.30. So this will be the next level, so it will beat. But overall, still bullish, buyers in control, so they could push this depending on the what Mr. Bernanke will say later on. Okay, any questions with the DXY?
No questions.
Okay, cool. Let's look at what happened in the marketplace. So yesterday the Dow dropped a little bit, 20 points. So this is a small retracement, even in the S&P and the Nasdaq. In the Eurozone, they closed positively there, and Asian market is mixed. Nikkei is up 47 points. ASX 200 dropped 17 points, so not much, a little bit of a correction right there happening. Let's look at the futures. Futures still early in the day, small drop here, so nothing much there either. In the European zone, the FTSE, there's nothing, but looks like it's a positive open in the European zone. Okay, so let's look at the Dow first. Okay, so the Dow we saw yesterday creating a new higher high, so it's quite weird. It's the same as the DXY that created a new high as well, so it created a new higher high. So the high here was 14,146 compared to, let's go to the monthly to have a look at the highest high. Okay, so the high here is 14,198, 14,146, so another just shy of about just over 50 pips. So they may push it again further just to test this on the daily. Buyers are in control at the moment, so they may retest this high here, or because it's already a lower high as well between these two candles, you may also close this gap to the 810 and then perhaps do a retracement. But it's a level of supply, so it will be interesting to see what will happen later on. But at the moment, buyers are still in control. Any questions with the Dow?
Nope.
No questions. Okay. Let's look at the marketplace. So you just want me to go through all the pairs, or just
yes,
once we are in?
Mainly first, we go first on what we're in, and then the rest of the pairs, please.
Okay, so the euro dollar, we are in the euro dollar. Now you entered based on M2. I entered based on M1. So on the daily chart, it's actually at a very good demand level. So buyers are supporting this demand level right here, very strong now over the last few days. So if this candle here, even if the sellers were in control yesterday, they didn't push it further down. So it's still looking good. The lows are still, this low here is still higher compared to this low right here. And it's also at a very good demand level. If we scroll back, it's also showing that's also a very good demand level right here. If you look at the weekly chart, now it's a start, end of the month, so may as well have a look at the end of the month. Okay, so very nice bearish bar right here. It's a bearish engulfing pattern. It's on a downtrend from here to here. However, it's on an uptrend from this point to here, because this high here is still higher compared to that high, although lower compared to this high here. High still compared to that high there. Okay, so also in the monthly chart, we can also see that it's also in a very good level of demand right here. So it's hitting right there. So it may just settle right here and then continue to the upside. Very strong candle though for this bearish outlook, so there could be some form of correction. Then they may correct itself further to the downside, since looking at this side right here, it's still on a downtrend. So it may create, so this high here is now high compared to this high, so it may make a new higher low compared to this area right here before it may continue to the upside. So we'll see what happens in the next few weeks or in the month of March. For the weekly sellers were in control, very strong lower highs, lower lows happening here, but it's also looking good at a very good level of demand. If we draw our uptrend line, from there to there, it's broken. So we'll see. There's a nice empty space right here. We'll have to see next week to see if it will settle right here within this demand level or continue further down. So if we have a look at, if I draw my our primary uptrend. Okay, so it's looking like it may drop to fill up this gap to this primary to 120 area if it wants to. So it will be interesting to see what will happen in the next few weeks. So we look at the daily chart. So daily chart, it's nicely stabilizing within a good demand level there. Buyers in control at the moment on the current candle. Downtrend line hasn't been broken yet. That will be our primary, this will be our secondary. So it has room to move up to this level right here. So if it chooses to retrace itself, we can use our fib from this high to this low. So this will be our targets. 31.32, 31.68 and 32.03. If it breaks this, then it may also try and touch this downtrend line right here before it may continue to the downside. And if it, however, if it breaks this, then a nice empty space here as well to fill. So yes, at the moment, still very nice level of demand. Method 2, it's very oversold. Slight divergence. Oh no, there's no divergence. So, but there was when it was in this area here. But there's no M2. There was that M2 setup right there yesterday. And on the method 3 is still to the downside. So we may just close the gap between the 8 and the 10 back to this supply here, and then continue to the downside. So we'll see what happens. Any questions with the euro dollar?
No questions.
Okay, the other one we're in is, I think that's it, unless I'm in dollar yen.
Okay, what's dollar yen?
Yep. Okay, the dollar yen, I actually went in short. Let's look at the, start with the month. Okay, on the monthly chart, okay, what we can see right here is we also saw, of course, the nice clear breakout of the primary downtrend line. So it's a change of trend, very steep descent right here by the buyers. Last month, I'm in Australia, so it's now started the new month. Last month, there's a nice doji formation right here. They tested this supply area here at, let's move this now, let's move that. Okay, 94.72. 94.75. So it's a good supply area right here. Let's look in the past. Actually touched it a few times. They didn't want to go further past, didn't want to go to 95, so they retreated back to another good supply area as well. Since buyers in control, there could be some form of a correction. Let's clean up this to the downside. So this will be our primary uptrend line right here based on the monthly. This will be our secondary, tertiary. So there will be a few layers right there, so that will be our fourth one there as well. So based on the monthly, there could be some form of retracement to touch this uptrend line right here, and if it does, then there could be some form of an M2 formation. So we'll see what happens at the end of the month. So if it's an M2 formation, there could be some correction, breaks this, may continue a bit further. But if not, it could correct itself and then go further up. That's based on the monthly. On the weekly, Also very strong push by the buyers to the upside. Very good supply level right here. Showing some form of, it's a doji as well this week. So they don't know where to go. They don't know if they want to go and do more. It's quite a higher high though this week compared to this high right here. It's now higher, but the lows are lower as well. And there's also some tails here that it may fill just to touch as well this uptrend line right here. So just need to clean it up as well. Okay, so sellers are in control at the moment, so there's two tails. They may fill that gap there next week, or they may continue and fill this gap next week as well. So it's indecision time, but sellers in control at the moment, trying to do some form of correction. On the daily chart, we saw that big spike right there, nice big open, and then it dropped to correct itself. Very small candles happening here now, so it's running out of steam. And if we draw our downtrend line, can't really draw it, but if we did this, because there was really a weird spike to the upside, open up. So it went up like that, but then it still closed within this triangle formation right here. So it's still, if this was very strong, this should have been really broken, would have broken this downtrend line right here. So there could be some form of correction just to fill up the gap to this uptrend line right here. So around about the $90.80, $90.84. If we draw our retracement, I'll take this to this high. Okay. So the fib retracement, it's kind of weird, but it's at the 50%. If I move this to the next level, okay, that looks a little bit better. First level will be the 92.10, 91.33, then it breaks that 90.55. So just to touch, maybe even 91, may retrace to 91, and then continue to the upside. So some correction happening there at the moment. On the our method 2 on the monthly, M2 overbought, so there could be a potential M2 if it retraces to at least 50% here. But it's overbought, no setup. Weekly, no setup, but also overbought. And the daily, no setup, just in the 50% or just below the 50% of the stochastics, but no setup at the moment. Method 3, let's look at the monthly. Okay, so big gap as well on the monthly between the 8 and the 10, so there could be a possibility of a good correction to the downside. On the weekly, okay, just closing that gap between the 8 and the 10, but big tails too. On the daily, okay, also close that gap between the 8 and the 10, but I didn't want to break that, and lower highs here now, so there could be some form of correction to the downside. Any questions with the dollar yen?
No questions.
Okay, next one, let's look at the pound dollar. First, let's look at the monthly as well. Okay, so the monthly overall is on a sideways movement. So it's really on a downtrend from here to here, but if you look at it overall, it's been consolidating, but it's also broken the consolidation period because it was consolidating between this demand right here and this supply here over the past few months. But we can also put our supply right here as well, and also our demand levels here also. Okay, so between this supply and this demand, it's around about just broke the the equilibrium point. This is the equilibrium point. So since sellers were in control in the last 2 months, there could be some form of stabilization, but it may also continue to the downside to about the 145 area, just to fill in this area right here if it wants to. If not, they may this may be a new low and then may do a correction to the upside. So it may just bounce again between these two price levels right here. So, however, 2 months in a row, sellers in control, there may also be more push to the downside as well to these levels of demand. Since in the past as well, it's been also very good levels of demand right here. So the pound is quite weak in my opinion. On the weekly chart, we can see here sellers very much in control, still lower lows, lower highs. This candle right here, though, it finishes like this. It's nice. It's now stabilizing itself. So the stabilization could be some correction, and then before it may continue to the downside, so it may break and continue to the upside. So we draw our trend lines. Okay, so there may be some room to correct itself just to touch the downtrend line right here to about the 154 area. Okay, if we use our fibs, wow, that will be the high. Yeah. So maybe some correction to about the 155, 54 area before it may continue to the downside. But we'll see next week. This could be another good opportunity to go to the upside for a small correction before it continues downside. So let's look at the daily chart. Daily chart, we can see right here, so it's that stabilization point. Buyer supporting this area right here. I don't want to go further, but it's also not very strong. This is the supply area right here, so it's just really trending or consolidating over the last 1, 2, 3, 4 days between this supply area and this demand. So, and it's very small candles as well. So they don't know where to go. They don't know if they want to go and do a correction or continue to the downsides. But it's nicely stabilizing itself. What we can see here as well is that the the lows are a bit higher. So we'll see next week. What I'd like to see is a break of this consolidation to either the upside or the downside, so that we know have some form of direction to trade it if we're trading the continuation or the correction to the upside. Let's look at our method 2 based on the monthly. M2 monthly, nothing but heading towards the oversold, so which is good, but currently no setup. On the weekly, no setup at the moment. We still need 1 more week to see if it will form a method 2. Then if it does, then that will be nice. Nice correction to the upside. So it will be a correction before it may continue to the downside. But no setup at the moment. On the daily daily no setup either, also oversold. Our method 3 monthly. M3 monthly, very nice, very big gap between the 8 and the 10, so there's an opportunity there to make at least up to 800, 900 pips to fill up the gap between the 8 and the 10 based on the monthly. On the weekly chart also a very big chunk up there to fill, so about 700 pips to the upside just to correct itself to touch the 8 and the 10. So this is also very nice to see some opportunity there in the next few weeks this month if it wants to correct itself. On the daily chart though, it's just nicely touching the 8 at the moment. So we'll need to see next week if they break the 8 and the 10, then there could be a nice potential to go to the upside. But at the moment there's no setup back to the level of demand still. Any questions with the pound dollar?
No questions.
Okay. What else are you in? Shall I just go through all of them?
Yes, please. Just use M1 just to have a look, please.
Yeah. Okay, the dollar Swiss based on the monthly chart, overall still on a downtrend. So it's a very long downtrend since up here, since 2000, October 2000. And what we can see right here is on this monthly bias we're in control for that correction. So if I draw my fib from this high to this low, okay, it actually corrected itself just below the 38%. Okay, so it's back at this good level of supply as well. Be interesting to see if they break this supply level and continue its correction to the upside. Okay, so at the moment bias in control, corrected itself to the upside. In terms of the trend, just want to see, let's draw our trend lines, our horizontal lines. Okay, so the low of this candle right here is still higher compared to this low right here, so it's on a slight uptrend within this area right here, but still a downtrend overall based on the monthly. Okay, so on the weekly chart, a different point of view. We'll take this high. So from here to here it's broken, from here to there it's also broken, so there's a clear break of this primary downtrend line right here, and also clearly see that the low is still high compared to this low here as well. Okay, so we'll see if it will break, and so the next high that will break, needs to break, will be the 93.88. Then after that, to continue its uptrend momentum, the next one would be to break would be the 95.12. Buyers are in control. Last 4 weeks in a row, higher lows and higher highs, but also it's at a very good supply area. If it breaks this, then it will go further up, but if not, it may just continue its downtrend as well. But so far, buyers in control. On the daily chart, on this part here, it's on an uptrend, still on the downtrend overall as we saw it. That's the break there, so it needs to break this high right here to continue to the upside. Then if it does, then the next price to beat will be this price here as well. First this price here and then that price over there. What we can see right now is some form of stabilization. Yesterday's candle, buyers were in control, actually broke the supply level right here. So they didn't want to, they broke that, they didn't want to go further down. Last couple of days they tried to break this demand level here, but it keeps bouncing back up to this demand level here as well. So they don't really want to go further. If we draw our trend lines as well, this will be our primary uptrend line. And our secondary, we don't even want to break that. You can see a few tails right here as well. They didn't even want to cover those tails, but they will somewhere sometime in the future. So at the moment there could be some form of stabilization, maybe some little bit of a correction, since this candle right here is quite massive, then before it may continue to the upside. So it's bullish in my view for the dollar Swiss. On our method 2, oversold but no setup. Weekly, heading to the overbought area, but there's no crossover yet, so still more room. No setup for daily. Overbought, but no setup at the moment. Method 3, monthly. Okay, so on the monthly chart, we can see right here actually fill up that gap between the 8 and the 10. It'd be interesting to see if they break the 8 and the 10 to continue to the upside, or drop to continue to the downside. Very interesting this month. Weekly, different story, still to the upside, big gap now between the 8 and the 10. Daily, still to the upside as well, so correction to the downside to touch the 8 and the 10 if it wants to, before it may continue to the upside. Any questions with the dollar Swiss?
No questions.
Okay, Euro Swiss, we'll just look at it very quickly. I think there's nothing much happening with this unless it's correcting. Yeah, still small candles. Buyers still in control on the daily. On the monthly, it's still very flat, although there's some heartbeat there that happened. So what we can see here, after that month of few months of consolidation, broke the consolidation range, and then back at the supply level here. Overall, still on the downtrend. Okay, still needs to break the supply level right here. It's also quite a significant supply level. Last month, just close with below that. However, we can see here as well that the highs are, the lows are higher compared to this month and these months here as well. So this will be our lowest. So it's still looking good. So they did some correction right here before it may break and continue to the upside. On the weekly chart, so this will be our demand levels. Okay, nice long big tail. Sellers were in control, did that correction to the downside. Now buyers are pushing it right back up. So after, so it's a big correction and it may now continue to the upside. Let's look at the daily chart. Daily chart, see if there's any break with our primary. Okay, so with our primary, there's no break just as yet. They may push it up to this level right here just to touch the 8 and the 10 and then continue to still fill up this void right here, just to fill up the gap, and then decide whether to break it around about the mid-March, to break it to the upside or not. So, but yeah, very small, still higher highs, higher lows, but the candles are also diminishing as well. Okay, let's, I won't go through because there's nothing much happening really with, it's not even an M2. Okay, so in the our M3 though, if we have a look at this, it's just really closing the gap between the 8 and the 10. It's touching the 8 here now. Also very weak candle here, so it may also continue to the downside as well for still to correct itself. Downtrend now as well, as we can see here, lower lows, lower highs happening. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Aussie against the dollar. Aussie on the monthly chart. Last month, buyers were in control. Fill out this gap here and also close at a very good demand level right here. So it has been consolidating as well with the Aussie between these supply levels and this demand level here. So it's still on an uptrend overall. So that will be our primary. And this is our secondary uptrend here. See a little bit of a break in the trend. So it'll be interesting to see if they will fill up this gap on the monthly and head towards the next level of demand, which is right here. And also if they would touch these levels here as well, because this is also significant, the 92 area. But in recent candles, it's just really consolidating between these 2 points right here. It needs to break this to go further, or this month it may just continue up and still be within this consolidation range. So it will be interesting to see this month what it will do. On the weekly chart, sellers are in control, lower lows, lower highs, back also as we saw it at a good level of demand. So we can see here some levels of demand it's going to hit, not far to go, just a few more pips. Then it may settle within this area right here before it may decide whether to continue to the upside for that correction or break further and retest these demand levels here as well. But at the moment, sellers are in control. On the daily chart, okay, on the daily chart, we can see right here lower highs and lower lows. Let's draw our trend lines from the daily. $9.76. Yeah, just by a few tiny pips. Okay, I'll just take this high here. It's nearly the same. So this will be our primary downtrend line. Okay, this will be our secondary. I'll just cut across to this level right here. So there's no break in the downtrend line yet. And okay, so sellers are still very strong. Last few days actually created a new low right here. However, the candles are also running out of steam. So there's a few more days to fill up this gap right here in this descending triangle. So there could be some decision time next week whether to continue to the downside or break and fill up this gap right here to the upside. So it'll be interesting, but it's at a very good demand level as well. So if you trade this based on M1, it's very low risk at the moment. Okay, let's look at our method 2. M2, not even in the overbought area, just under it, but no setup. Weekly, no setup, heading still on the oversold, no crossover yet. Daily, oversold as well, but no setup. On our method 3, monthly, M3 monthly, so it's below the 8 and the 10, close below the 8 and the 10 last month. This will be the first month, so it'll be interesting to see if this will, next month will close below. So if it closes below, then there could be some continuation to the downside here. On the weekly chart, still below, still no sign, but big gap between the 8 and the 10, and the daily chart. Okay, so they're just really closing the gap. So it's closing the gap but doesn't want to really break. The 8 and the 10 still continuing to the downside. So there's nothing there at the moment. Any questions with the Aussie against the dollar?
No questions.
Okay. Dollar CAD. Okay, so the dollar against the CAD, overall still on a downtrend from here to this point right here, but on an uptrend from this point to this point here, since the lows are higher as well. So if we draw our trend line based on the monthly, let's just see if it's broken any of the trend lines. So we are primary. So our secondary. Okay, so that will be our tertiary. So it's broken that. And let's draw our uptrend lines. That will be our primary. That's our secondary right there. And this will be our tertiary. So if I cut across and go there, okay, so what we can see here on the monthly is that buyers last month were very much in control, broke all these highs right here. It's also at a very good supply area. Very strong bullish bar last month. So there could be some more continuation since it already broke this downtrend line right here. May head back to the next level. So the next high to beat with this one here, 104.46, which is also a very good supply area. Next level will be this supply here, 106.50. So they're the levels that needs to beat, and also try and fill up this gap right here to this downtrend line. So bulls so far, so there could be some small correction just to fill up the gap to this uptrend line, and then create a new high, higher high, higher low. So just before it can reach this downtrend line right here. On the weekly chart, Weekly chart, we can see here 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row that buyers were in control. And on a good supply level now, still strong. There's no sign of weakness, so there's still maybe a continuation to the upside to test these supply areas here. On the daily chart, same thing. That was that correction right there. Nice push, correcting itself at the moment, but still early in the day. They may still break this level and go further up. If not, it may stabilize like this. Then we'll see on Monday if it will form an M2 for correction before it may continue to the upside. But so far, still bullish, higher lows, higher highs happening. Needs to create a new higher low before it may continue to the upside as well. Okay, method 2. Let's look at the monthly. There's no setup, still more room to the upside, but no setup for M2. Weekly, no setup, still saying there's still more room to the upside as well. Daily. Daily, there's no setup. It's also in the overbought area. It's been overbought for quite some time now, but that doesn't mean anything. But there's no setup at the moment. On our M3, okay, this is the first candle above the 8 and the 10 on the monthly. Big gap though between the 8 and the 10, so there could be some form of correction. If it does, about 300 points to the downside if it wants to correct itself. Sorry about that. On the weekly, okay, also a big gap as well between the 8 and the 10, but there's no setup. No sign of weakness either yet. On the daily, there's a bit of a gap between 8 and 10, so there could be some form of correction, slight correction, and then continuation to the upside. So yeah, there's no setup for the CAD. I reckon more to the upside as well. Any questions with the dollar CAD?
No questions.
Okay. Kiwi. Kiwi on the monthly. Okay, so overall, if we look at the overall picture, it's still an uptrend. This point here, this low is still higher. From this point here as well, the highs are still higher. In the latest candles last month, there was some form of, it also created a new higher high. This high right here, compared to these highs here, is also higher compared to that high there now. And what we can see as well is that the lows are also slightly higher as well. So it's settled at a very good demand level last month. Back here, it's a new high there within the range of those candles. And we need to see whether it will break this demand level here to retest further demand levels here as well. If we draw our uptrend line, I'll just take this to here. Okay, so it has room to drop just to touch this uptrend line right here to about the 81.50 area before it continues to the upside. Okay, let's look at the weekly chart. Weekly chart, sellers are in control at the moment. sellers are resisting this supply area here. So it's very nice, clean resistance right there by the supplies. They don't really want to break and go and test these highs right here. Just as yet, so they settled and dropped, and now retesting this supply, these demand levels here. Sellers back in control to a good demand level on the weekly. On the daily, we can also see right here lower lows, lower highs. So sellers took it back down to these also clear evidence here of this demand level. So if you can see the latest candles right here, the highs are higher, the lows are higher. And this low right here also is higher compared to this low right here. Very good M1 based on the daily. If you trade this, the risk is very small. You can take this low or these lows right here, still very small risk to go to the upside. It's a very good demand area. We'll draw our trend lines based on the daily. Still on the downtrend, so it may correct itself up to this level right here, or even just close the shadow here for a correction before it may continue to the downside. Or if it breaks this downtrend line right here, then it may retest again these supply levels here. So it's a nice empty space as well to about the 84.50 price area. Our method 2, M2 monthly, there's nothing that's in the overbought area. Weekly, nothing, no setup, and the daily, oversold but no setup. M3 monthly. Okay, M3 monthly, very nice, just above the 8 and the 10 at the moment. So still hovering above the 8 and the 10. On the weekly, weekly's different story. First candle below the 8 and the 10. Daily. Daily still to the downside, but just try to close that gap. There's still a little bit of a gap, so they may close the gap before they may decide whether to break or continue to the downside. So this that's a good setup here for M1 if you'd want to trade this, because overall it's on an uptrend. Any questions for the Kiwi?
No questions.
Look at the euro pound. Euro pound on the monthly. So on the monthly, I'll just draw our trend lines right here because we can see a clear breakout. Okay, it hasn't really broken because last month closes as a doji candle. So this would have been nice. There's a big long tail here though, so they will retest this. They will cover this tail to the upside since the month of January has been very bullish. So it stabilized itself. Then it may now also continue to the upside as well. So good levels of supply will be the high of this candle right here, 88.11, and then if it breaks that, the next level would be right here, about the 90.74, and then there's some in between as well. Okay, so trend-wise, well, it's on an uptrend from here to this point since it's broken this high and this high here as well, but it needs to break this high to continue to the upside. But This low here is it's lower compared to that high there, but it's still high compared to this lows right here. So we need to see a clear breakout though of this downtrend line right here. So they may, since we can see right here now as well, buyers in control, they may cover this. Then if it does and closes this gap right here, then yeah, there'll be a clear breakout, continuation of the trend, the reversal of the trend to the upside. On the weekly chart, okay, so you can see right here, nice steep ascent by the buyers to the upside, so creating higher highs and higher lows. Okay, so that'll be our secondary uptrend line. So it hasn't broken the secondary uptrend line yet. So they just correct itself just to fill up that gap. Then there may be some form of continuation to the upside as well. If it breaks this uptrend line here, then it may correct itself to about the 84 area before it may continue to the upside. So, but if not, this could be a new higher low, and then create a new higher high, and then higher low as well. But at the moment, with this candle, sellers are in control. Indecision though, so it will be interesting next week to see if they will take it further to the upside or to the downside. In terms of where it's also at a very good demand level here as well. Let's look at the daily chart. Okay, so the daily chart, I'll just clean up these trend lines. Okay, clearer picture on the daily chart. Okay, so it nicely retraced itself right here, just to be as close as possible to this uptrend line here. Also, what we can see as well is that they don't really want to break. Buyers are really supporting this price area here at the 86 area. They want to break this 86 price level, and it may just also consolidate now between 2 points, between this supply area right here and this demand level here. So it may just do this, and then later on decide, once it's touched this uptrend line here, they might decide whether to break this and go to the downside or continue to the upside and create new highs. But at the moment it's just on a sideways movement with buyers in control on this candle right there. Okay, let's look at our method 2 on the monthly. Overbought, but there's no setup. Weekly, overbought, no setup. Daily, oversold, but no setup. M3, okay, M3, there's a really big gap between the 8 and the 10. If it chooses to correct itself to the downside, about a 400 pip movement to the downside. So if it does show some signs of weakness, then this will be a good trade as well, since it's also a very good level of supply. On the weekly, it's only a small gap between the 8 and the 10. So it's now trying to touch the 8 and the 10 this week. On the daily, but still to the upside on the weekly. On the daily, different story. First candle, second candle. So if today, if it doesn't close this gap, and if it closes below the 8 and the 10, then there could be some form of more correction to the downside then, if that's the case. All right, any questions with a euro pound?
No questions with the euro pound.
Okay, let's move on with the cross pairs. First with euro yen. Oh, actually, just looked at the dollar yen. Okay, so the euro yen monthly first. Euro yen on the monthly is on an uptrend since it broke this high right here and also broke this high right here. It created a new higher high last month, and we can see some form of a stabilization last month's candle. So new high and new higher low here as well. The next level to beat will be these levels right here, which is quite strong also, 134.37. Okay, so it's stabilization and maybe continuation to the upside, but we'll see. We'll draw our trend lines. Right pick. Okay, so that will be our primary, secondary. Okay, and that's our tertiary. So last month it just nicely closed that gap to the tertiary uptrend line. We'll see this month, still early, to see if it will continue or break and fill up this gap to the downside. But yeah, so that's how it is. That's how it looks like on the monthly. On the weekly, as well. Okay, so if I clean this up a bit. Okay, so on the weekly chart, this will be our primary uptrend line and our secondary uptrend line right here. As we can see here, it's trying to break the secondary uptrend line. There's a couple of tails here to fill, so it may do some corrections to the downside. It's already the highs are already lower, lows are lower as well, so some correction. If it does want to correct itself, let's draw our fib from this low to this high. Okay, so if we can already see here on the weekly chart, actually tested the 38%. Didn't want to break that, and still above the 38%. So now showing sellers in control with a indecision candle, a doji right there. They don't know if they want to go up or down at this point. It's also a very good demand level here, also based on the weekly. On the daily chart, okay, highs are lower here, as we can see it. Gapped up at the open here, but it didn't really gap too much, not unlike the dollar yen. Still below this downtrend line right here. And we can see right here, the highs are, the lows are higher, but the candles are also quite weak, so there may still be some form of a correction to the downside. This is quite a very volatile pair, and if it was really very strong, this should have been really broken, this downtrend line right now with this pair, but it's just settling between these 2 points at the moment. So indecision time, just really hovering between these 2 points. want to know. They don't know whether to continue to the upside or to the downside at this point. However, my take on this is that there could be some correction to the downside as well to retest these demand levels here too. Okay, on our method 2, monthly M2 could be a potential M2 right there. We'll see this candle pushes it down here, but we'll see it's in the overbought area. Weekly no setup, just below the overbought area at the moment. Daily, no setup either. That would be nice if it closed up here, but it didn't want to, so but there's no setup. Method 3. M3, okay, so there could be some correction since there's a big gap as well between the 8 and the 10. Good potential to trade this to the downside to make a few hundred pips right there. On the weekly, different story though, nicely touching or closing the gap between the 8 and the 10. Didn't want to break below it yet, so it may just close like this, but we'll see tomorrow how it closes. On the daily chart, okay, nicely closing that gap between the 8 and 10 as well, so different story. So close that gap, there could be some form of continuation to the downside since it's on the downtrend from here to from this point of view right here. Still overall uptrend though, because this low here is still high compared to that low there. Any questions with the Euro Yen?
No questions. Oh yes. Okay, there's a report that's coming out.
Is there?
For the euro against the dollar.
Oh yeah, there's a few reports. Okay, let's look at the pound yen. Okay, so pound yen, we also saw that break in the downtrend line right here. It's now on an uptrend because it broke all these highs right here. So this high now is higher compared to that, but it needs to break this high here too. Okay, so that's the next price levels of supply. So this is the next one, 150. Should create a new higher high last month, lower low here though, but overall buyers were in control. Bullish candle, bearish engulfing candle, and there may be some form of correction as well with this pair. So it wants to correct itself. It has to correct first to the upside and then go to the downside, but if we can see a correction to the downside, we'll take this low to this high. So it has an opportunity to up to about the 136.81. So about 300-400 pips to the downside to create a new higher low before it may continue to the upside to create a higher highs as well. Okay, on the weekly chart, sellers are in control at the moment. So if I just draw our trend lines, just cut across to here. Okay, so we can see a breakout of this uptrend line right here, and yeah, I can see it hasn't even touched the 38%, but it is a big long tail here. They will fill up that gap. It's actually fill up these gaps here on the uptrend, which is quite good. Now they need to fill up this long tail right here. So yeah, it has an opportunity to drop to about the 38%. and even the 50% just to fill up this very, very big gap at the moment between the tertiary uptrend line. So there could be some form of sentiment correction, and then it will head back to these levels right here. On the daily chart, similar to the euro yen and the dollar yen. Very small candles here, buys in control, but very weak. So if we draw our downtrend line, okay, so it has room to touch this up to here, 140, 141. Then it may continue to the downside, since overall in this point of view right here, it's on a downtrend. This low now is lower compared to that low right there, so more continuation to the downside. Okay, our method 2. Daily, it's in the overbought, but there's no setup. Weekly, no setup, and daily, no setup. M3 monthly. Okay, big gap between 8 and the 10, so you have opportunity there to close that gap as well. Weekly. Okay, nothing but second candle below the 8 and the 10. So that's entry tomorrow. Daily. Closing that gap between 8 and 10. So this one is a good one for our M3 based on the weekly chart. Tomorrow's close. Any questions with the pound yen?
No, definitely looks good.
Yeah, actually looks good. Now closer to the 8 and the 10. Did you want me to look at Swiss last one?
Yes, please. Might as well.
Oh, pound Swiss monthly, still downtrend. Downtrend from here to here as well. This low now is lower compared to this low, so yeah, very weak based on the monthly. There's room to drop to these levels right here. So let's look at the weekly chart. Weekly chart, this week's candle is stabilizing itself. It's been dropping for the last few weeks since the pound was weak overall, but we'll see. But against the Swiss, it's also weak. Okay, so needs to break this downtrend line right here to continue. If it wants to correct itself, just fill up this gap right here in these candles. If not, you may just have another couple more weeks to decide whether to continue to the downside or break and fill up this gap right here. But what we can see here, buyers in control, stabilization, correction, and continuation to the downside. On the daily chart, higher lows, not quite. Just fix this thing. Okay, so there's a clear breakout on the daily chart of this downtrend line right here. So it may have opportunity to retrace itself to the supply area. If we draw a fib, just to see where the retracement, I'll just take this high right here to the lowest low. And it's actually at the 38% at the moment, so it's just touching here, so we need to see this breaking the 38% to continue to the upside, but if not, they just correct to the 38% and then go further down again. So interesting to see at the end of the day what it will do. But yesterday's candle was very bullish, higher lows as well between these candles right here. Nice correction, continuation, and there could be some more continuation as well to the upside. Okay, our method 2. M2, it's in the oversold but no setup. Weekly, oversold, no setup. And the daily, no setup at the moment. Method 3. Okay, so there's a big gap between the 8 and the 10, so correction before continuation. So we can play the correction on the weekly, but there's no setup there for M3. Weekly, still to the downside as well. There's also a big gap to the 8 and the 10, so correction and continuation. Daily, different story. Okay, first candle above the 8 and the 10. If this candle right here closes close or above mainly above the 8 and 3 to the upside for based on the daily. Any questions?
Oh, no questions. Sorry, I just muted myself. Yeah, very nice.
So yeah, so this one is my recommendation, M3, and what's the pound yen?
Pound yen.
Yeah, pound yen. M3 to the downside, opposite.
3 weekly, right?
Oh no, sorry, weekly. Yeah, that's a good long, medium one. Yeah, this one. Tomorrow, end of closer to the day tomorrow.
Yeah, perfect. All right, thanks, thanks, Ram.
No worries.
All right.
We'll see you tomorrow morning.
See you tomorrow morning. Adios.
Okay, bye.
Bye.